So from the previous video, if you guys want to go ahead and pause and then check your answers for the graphs. Now remember, when you are making the t-charts, to get the correct h value, if we have a number in front here, we have to remember to factor that out. So that's what this work is showing on 17. And then same thing, I'm going to have to factor that 2 out before I can identify the correct h value. Okay. So again, go ahead and pause the video so you can look over your answers. And then the next thing that we're going to get into is writing equations. Now, anytime we write an equation for our sine and cosine functions, we're going to have to be able to identify the a value, which we'll get from the amplitude. We will need to know our b value, which is from the period. So again, to calculate that, we are using 2 pi over b equal to the period, or 360 over b, depending on if we are in degrees or radians. Okay. And then we'll have to know our h value, which is the phase shift. So that's responsible for moving our graph to the left or to the right. And then our k value is from the vertical shift. And that's responsible for moving the graph up or down. Okay. And then in addition to that, we will have to know if we are dealing with our sine function or cosine function. And then if we're dealing with a graph, we're going to have to know whether or not a reflection happened, because if it did, then we'll have to make our a value negative. And then once we have this information, we're just substituting it into those general functions. So that's at y equals a, sine of our b value, x minus h plus k. Or if we had a cosine function, it's going to be exactly the same. We're just replacing the word sine with cosine. Okay. So as we take a look at 23, we are told that we have a sine function. So I know that this will have to be y equals something and then sine. They give us the amplitude, which is a. The phase shift is h, and our vertical shift is k. So right now, I'm just filling in the parts that I know. So the 15 will go in front. I don't know what b is yet, but based on my phase shift, this will be x minus pi over 2. So remember, because h goes into the grouping symbol, just like when we take it out, we have to do the opposite sign. And that's what this minus sign here indicates to us. And then we'll have minus 10 on the outside of that. So now I just need to figure out my b value. So because of our pi here, I know that I'm in radians. So I'm taking 2 pi over b and setting it equal to the period. And then we're just solving that for b. So I would make the assumption that 4 pi is over 1, and then we would cross multiply. So this will give me 2 pi equals 4 pi b, and then I'm going to have to divide both sides by 4 pi to get the b by itself. So that means that my pi's are going to cancel, and then 2 over 4 will reduce to 1/2. So I'll have 1/2 equals b. So that will go in this spot. So why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video and see if you can correctly answer 24 and 25. Okay. All right, so again, they're giving us the amplitude, phase shift is h, vertical shift is k, and we are told that we have cosine this time. So I'm just going to fill in the parts that I can fill in right away, and then I'm going to go back and find my b value. So same thing, it's in radians, so I'm setting 2 pi equal to, 2 pi over b equal to my period, so 2 pi. So again, I'm assuming that that's over 1, and then we are cross multiplying. So if we cross multiply, this will be 2 pi equals 2 pi b. And then I'm going to have to divide both sides by 2 pi to get b by itself. So remember, when we divide something by itself, it just becomes a 1. So I have 1 equals b. So technically I wouldn't have to write it, but if it's helpful to you, then you can go ahead and include that 1 as part of your answer. And that last one, so again, I'm just gonna fill in the parts that I know right away. So this will give me y equals 1/2 sine of something, and then this will be x plus pi over 3 since it's a negative this time, and then plus 5. So last thing I'm gonna have to do is find that b value. So 2 pi over b equals pi over 3, and then I'm cross multiplying. So this will be 6 pi equals b times pi. So I'm going to have to divide both sides by pi. So that will cancel out and that will cancel out. So that means that my b value is equal to 6. Okay. And that's the process that we're going to go through when we have to write equations from just given information. So in our next video, we'll talk about how to write equations from graphs.